chaos or weave disorder into tranquility. Your might and power are already unparalleled." Ishtar had to admit he had a point. She preened like a peacock under Enki's praise, but he was not yet done with his lecture. "Yes, you are indeed a goddess of much power and ability. You already have more than what all of your sisters have, but what do you do with it? You leave piles of heads in your wake without a thought. At a whim, you lock away the instruments that raise sweet music and silence the hymns and lamentations. Your vanity and idleness are legendary. You have not used your gifts to improve my world, and that, my lady, Queen of Heaven, is why you were not trusted with anything more." Ishtar's rage swelled at the rebuff, but Enki cut her off before she could retort. "The mighty Enlil and Father Anu are pleased with the world order, and it will be as I said. Now go from me, and think on my counsel." And thus the order and balance were brought to the world. Oh, praise be to Enki, mighty creator and father of man. Most civilizations have creation myths that tell the story of how man came to be on the earth. The ancient Mesopotamians had 3 main versions that share some similarities while having their own unique twist on the central themes. Let us begin with the earliest people, the Sumerians, and therefore the earliest creation myth, the Eridu Genesis. Of course, being the oldest means the written record has sustained more damage over time. However, piecing together several different tablets, hymns, and poems from that era gives us a pretty good idea of the Sumerian theory of creation. It is important to note that while told in a single story form here, this is a compilation of texts that came from several different sources. The Eridu Genesis. Before the dawn of time, Namu, the goddess of creation, brought forth the universe known as Anki and the primordial waters known as Abus. Anki called forth from the wind the god Enlil. From the Abus, Anki created the heavens and the god Anu. Anu created the earth and its goddess, Ki. There was a time of darkness where heaven and earth were joined. There was no light, but the earth thrived with living green plants. The Abus, the water of life, flowed beneath the ground, giving life to all things. Enlil, master of the air and the wind, separated the heavens from the earth and gave Anu and Ki control over their domains. Enlil and Ki had a child, Enki, to whom was given the earth and sea to control. Enki sought to improve the earth and went to Namu for blessed water to create rivers. With the water from Namu, he created the Euphrates and the Tigris and brought life to the region. He improved the soil, made plants grow, and animals thrive. Other gods and goddesses were brought forth at this time as well. Temples were created, and in their respective temples the gods and goddesses dwelled, waited on by lesser deities. Ninlil, the goddess of grain, was exceedingly beautiful. Ninlil had been warned not to bathe in the river where Enlil could see her, for he would want to lie with her if he saw her beauty. Ninlil did not heed the advice and went to bathe in the river. Enlil attempted to seduce her, but she rebuffed him. He refused to be denied and took her by force. Ninlil ended up pregnant, and Enlil was banished for his behavior. Ninlil, though she had refused him, did not want Enlil to miss out on the birth of their child. She followed him throughout his banishment. Her child was to be the god of the moon, but the rulers of the underworld demanded restitution for the one who would never dwell there. So, as Ninlil followed behind Enlil throughout his wanderings, he seduced her on 3 separate occasions. She bore 3 other children who were given to the underworld and dwelt there as gods. As for her first child, Sin, he went to dwell in the sky as the moon with supreme powers of divination and prophecy. Now that the heavens and earth were formed, the gods lived in their glory for many millennia. Eventually, lesser gods became weary of being the servants of the higher gods. They did not like being the only ones who worked at digging ditches, tending animals, or building temples. They rebelled against the higher gods and rioted outside of Enlil's temple. Enlil did not know what to do with the angry mob, so he sought out Enki and Anu. Together, they decided that they needed to create a kind of being who would do all the things the lesser gods were complaining about. Geshtu-e was a god of great cunning and wisdom. He was picked to be sacrificed, so from his blood they could create their new race of beings. The mother goddess, Ninmah, used her powers of creation to mix Geshtu-e's blood into clay. Ninmah and Enki took the clay into the sacred room of the temple and worked magic into the clay. Ninmah took the clay and broke it into 14 pieces and placed them in her womb. She carried them, 7 men and 7 women, until she gave birth to the first humans. The gods were much pleased with their handiwork, and there was a great celebration following the birth of the humans. During the festivities, Enki and Ninmah began to bicker about their role in forming the humans. Ninmah felt she was responsible for how well a human was formed, and the form was of paramount importance. However, Enki said that did not matter, since regardless of their physical form, he could help them thrive in society. Ninmah described humans with a myriad of afflictions, challenging Enki to create a suitable use for the less than perfect human. She could not best him, as he placed even the most afflicted person in a suitable occupation. Enki then challenged Ninmah to do the same. He created a truly wretched creature who was twisted and malformed, and Ninmah could not think of anything the wretch would be good for. She also recognized that if she let many humans be born with such deformities, they would not have faith or be loyal to her. Ninmah was frustrated and angry. Enki decided that he wanted to make peace with her. He said that while he did have the power to create people, they would not be complete without her divine influence. They set aside their argument and agreed to make new life together, so it could be as perfect as they could make it. After the creation of man, the gods then enjoyed the creatures they had made. They enjoyed having humans as their servants and the progression of the humans as a race. The humans erected cities, including Eridu, and the first kings were appointed by the gods. As mankind began to flourish, the gods soon realized that they were harder to govern than they thought they would be. The humans started to expand and build more and more cities and infrastructure. They dug canals and built walls. It all created a lot of havoc and noise. This displeased some of the gods, especially Enlil. He decided that they should destroy mankind. The other gods did not like this plan, but none of them were willing to oppose Enlil. King Ziusudra was a powerful king and a favorite among the gods. He worshipped daily at the statue of the god Enki. When he stood at the statue one day, he witnessed a vision. In the vision, the gods discussed the fate of mankind, deciding that they should be eradicated, and took an oath not to reveal their plan to anyone. While Ziusudra stood gaping at the statue, trying to understand what he had just seen, the voice of Enki, the god of the sea, came from the wall. It whispered of the plans to flood the region and wipe out humanity. Enki told Ziusudra to build a large boat and to carry onto it animals, plants, and precious things. Ziusudra did as he was told, and just as he finished the boat, the storms came. The rains raged for 7 days and 7 nights, and all of the land was swallowed in an ocean. Once the storm was over, Ziusudra made offerings to the gods. Enlil was very angry that he had been disobeyed, but Enki stood by his actions. In the end, Enlil granted Ziusudra immortality, but banished him to live outside the realm of man. This was the first version of the flood myth that describes the devastation and revitalization of mankind in the Mesopotamian region. It is played out in several different cultures and appears later in great detail in the Epic of Gilgamesh. On top of the Eridu Genesis, there are several short disputations that illuminate how certain aspects of the world established themselves. these debates give further insight into how these early people view the world and the balance within it. The Sumerian Disputations.